Welcome back for another book review. I am finally back on camera. It's been a minute. Welcome back. The background's basically the same. I still haven't decorated. It's a one-day project. So today we are talking about this little book. So this is Witchcraft Simplified, Spells, Meditations, and Practices for the Modern Witch by Isabella, and this last name, I don't know. I think it's pronounced Ferrari, but that could totally be wrong. So this is a very, very tiny little book, and it is really just the brief description of this is that it's kind of your generic, very brief discussion of mostly Wiccan concepts. My rating for this book is a solid 3 out of 5, kind of on the lower end of that 3-star. And the reason is really just this book is so small. The topics are just so brief that there really isn't like any depth to them, and it's just a very like basic understanding of them. And really most of the time this just felt like kind of just like a blog post, just like very brief, like, hey, here's the things, here's the things, here's the things. And then you just move along. There's no depth to it. There's no nuance to it. There's no substance to it, really. It's just another Witchcraft 101 book. So the intended audience for this is definitely going to mostly be for beginner Wiccans, because again, a lot of the concepts go back to Wicca. It is nice, there is some call outs of like, you know, this is more of a Wiccan belief, like again, harm none, but then everything usually falls into that category. I will say I was impressed that the author did include some things like, hey, don't leave your amethyst out in the sunlight, because a lot of books don't mention that, and if you do, it's not gonna have its color anymore. And there was just, you know, little things like that that I'm glad the author had mentioned. There was a few things where like some of the recipes and stuff didn't include measurements, which was kind of obnoxious. At least give me a vague idea. As an experienced witch, I can figure it out on my own, but for a beginner, I would be very upset to be like, well, how much am I supposed to use? People don't know that. Just include it. It's not that hard to be like, hey, a tablespoon. That's some kind of a measurement. Or, you know, whatever, just a little bit of a measurement, something, that would have been nice. But really, the majority of the information is just so brief that it's, again, these small books, it's hard to get into a lot of details, but at the same time, like, why buy this little teeny tiny book for about the same cost as one that has a lot of content for about the same price? So obviously, would I buy this book? No. Not really. I'm glad the library had it. I'm glad I got to read it through them. The like internal of the book is pretty. Each section is like a different color. So the pages have like this very slight color tint to it to match the color of whatever section you're reading, which is nice. But I'm just glad that I got to read it through the library. I would check your local libraries to see, or even check Libby, because Libby is the place that's like all the libraries kind of are connected in a way, sort of. And you can use your library card to get access to audiobooks. I don't know if this is an audiobook, but sometimes you can get access to more titles, but the witchcraft titles can be a little difficult, so odds be in your favor. But theoretically, you could check this out at your local library, and that would probably be the best option to see if it's worth your while. The other notes for this book, there wasn't a whole lot, but on page 45, there was going through the phases of the moon, and I'm like, all right, cool, cool, cool. Like, at least you got all of the phases. That's kind of nice, instead of just, you know, waxing, full, waning, new. It went into the more descriptive ones of like, okay, it's the new moon, it's the waxing crescent, it's the first quarter, it's the waxing gibbous, it's the full moon, and you're like, great, love that. Let's go into the details. And then doesn't for the rest of the moon phase. It's like, oh, and then the moon just like fades. And you're like, well, okay. There's different magic to do throughout that time too, but sure, because it's like going into like the specifics of like the building up with the full moon, right? And then it's like, and then the moon just fades away. And it was just a little disappointing of like, you couldn't be bothered to do like the second half. And then we got my usuals. The conclusion was there this time. That was nice. But there's no references. There's no recommended. There's no bibliography. We don't know where the author got their information. That bugs me. Because listen, I can see where if you've been a practicing witch for many a year, you're gonna be like, I don't know what I got all of this information from. I've read a bunch of books. Make a list of a bunch of books. Like, I don't understand when books on this particular topic don't include any kind of list. Even the ones, like, I've had one this year already that, like, the list was her own books. It was something. There was nothing here. Just give me an idea of where you're getting your information, because when you don't include it, it makes me feel like you're just doing a Google search and you're just a ghostwriter who is trying to write a trendy book to sell some books and make some money. Which is a bummer, but that does happen very frequently in this community. And that's one of the signs that to me is a little bit of a red flag of like, there's nothing. You're not telling me where you're getting your information from. And it's kind of a standard in the witchcraft books is to include some kind of a bibliography. Let us know where you're getting your information. So anyways, those are my thoughts on this itty bitty little book. I would love to know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. If you want to check out my Patreon, I have a bunch of content going up this month. Of course, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and bless be.